Hey, it's Jonathan here from Mindful Communication, and in this video particularly, I'm going to take you through a very important communication skill all around boundary setting. Unfortunately, that's a skill that not many of us have. Now, if you haven't watched the video on how to initiate a boundary conversation, I recommend you go and do that first. And so for the next several minutes, I want to take you through how to actually continue the boundary setting conversation and actually explain step by step how to set boundaries. So now that you've outlined what it is that you want to talk about, maybe they're ready to have this conversation and actually talk about setting some boundaries. So how do you actually have this conversation? Well, there's a few different ways that you can approach this. And really the key that you want to keep in mind is you want to be open and as transparent as possible. And you want to keep reinforcing your pure good intentions. Unfortunately, as human beings, we tend to suppose that people have bad intentions towards us. So the more we can put forward those good, pure intentions, then the more likely that they're going to be willing to listen to you openly and not get too defensive when you're having a possibly very difficult conversation. So one tip I would say is when you are actually outlining some of the rules that you want to put down, what you can do is you can start the conversation by saying something like, well, what's important to me is blank. So you start off by saying what's important to me, and then the blank part, you talk about what need or value or just core essence of what it is that you're wanting is important to you. And you want to try to make sure that whatever it is that you're needing is somewhat relatable to another person. So something like personal space, something like having peace or quiet or calm. These are very universal human things to want. So the next part of this process is all about actually making the request. Let's take a quick look at this slide here. And as you can see, I've outlined some examples of boundaries that you can set, some requests that you can make. So some examples are, can I have 1 hour of quiet time per day? Or can we make sure not to talk about the virus between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m.? Or while I'm in the kitchen with my headphones, please take that as a cue not to speak to me unless it's an emergency. So these are just some simple, quick examples that I make up, but really check in with yourself and see what's going to really work for you so that your needs are met, and especially in a way that is going to be easy for them to fulfill on your request. If you do make that request and they do say, yes, I agree, that sounds like a great rule, that sounds like a boundary that I can respect, then make sure to check in. Ask, really, is that for sure going to work for you? Really check in. Make sure that they're bought in and that they're crystal clear on what it is that you want from them. Now, when it comes to actually using the word boundary, you don't have to use that word. There are lots of different words that you can use instead. And I encourage you to use the word that's going to be the least triggering for the other person. So that word might be boundary, limit, rule, expectation, agreement, structure. Whatever you think is going to work best for your situation, that's what I recommend using. So let's do a big old recap on 1, how to start the conversation, and then 2, how to actually set the boundary. You're going to start off by initiating the conversation and making your intention really clear that you want to talk about setting some rules and setting some boundaries in these uncertain times when we're going to be spending a lot of time together. Then you're going to make sure that you explain your why behind it. Then you're going to check in with them and make sure that they're bought in. You're going to say, and you can also include some boundaries as well. This way you are both on the same page and it's a collaborative effort. Then you're going to start off the conversation by talking about what's important to you, and remember to try and find those values, those things that are important to you that you think that another person could easily find important to them, like peace, calm, quiet, etc. Then you're going to make the request. You're actually going to request something of them, whether it's a behavior on their part or respecting a certain behavior on your part. You're going to make sure that they're clear on what it is that you actually want. And at the end, you're going to make sure that it's really okay with them, that they're really ready to respect those boundaries that you're setting. Follow these steps and you'll be well on your way to having a highly successful boundary setting conversation. That's it for today's video. Make sure to follow up with the next video where I explain the next step in the process of how to actually enforce the boundary now that you've set it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to give it a great big like. You can get way more great communication tips on Instagram, on Facebook, and I've included the links to those in the description below. And you can also check out the Mindful Communication podcast, where I interview thinkers and influencers and experts all around the world of communication, how we relate to one another, and how we communicate with one another. And of course, if you're looking to upgrade your communication skills, make sure to get in touch with me on my website. You'll find the link to that in the description below. That's it for this video. See you next time.